Hi, I am Julie Bielant, and I'm just recording a live right now to stop in and say hi to you guys and tell you about some tools that I think can really help you. So say hello if you are here, if you joined us live. Um, Hello, James. Hi, Danielle. Uh, so we just did this event that I want to talk about because I think it will really help sensitive people. One of the challenges that we have is feeling incredibly, just emotions can be really intense for us. And if we are feeling emotionally reactive, our cognitive part of our brain goes to sleep, which makes it really hard to function when it's like that. So there's so many tools that you can use that are supportive to sensitive people that help you sort of get that cognitive brain back online and to support the emotional brain. And before I had tools, I walked around in the world, I'm at the highest level of sensitivity. If you guys have taken my sensitivity quiz, you'll see there's a spectrum of sensitivity. And those of us at the very top are likely what we're calling HSP empaths. And we really experience the world in a different way, probably different than 95 to 99% of the population. And we're taking in so much data and information and energy around us that it can be overwhelming. We often don't know when our energy ends and somebody else's begins. So if you're around people that are having a really hard time, or they're reactive, or you're taking in kind of all their emotions, and it can be really hard on us. So we just did this event that I thought was really great, and wanted to share a little bit about it because what happens, and for those of you that have been following me for a while, I'm very into brain training and to using tools as part of sensitive empowerment. What sensitive empowerment really means to me is that we become aware of ourselves and our needs, and we develop tools to support us. So one of the things that you can do, Larissa Trega actually did an event just now that was really great. She's a social worker and she specializes in EMDR, which is a great technique that helps the two parts of the brain, the two halves, what I like to call the emotional and the cognitive side, so that they can communicate a little bit better. These are tools and techniques that you can actually teach children, teens, anybody can use these. They're great for us as adults. And they actually are very calming. So we just did a live event in my sensitive empowerment community. Hopefully you guys know about the community. It's an amazing place. It's not on social media because it's private. And I'm there every day offering support and tips. And we do these live weekly events that are always teaching us something. We have all the people that have come to talk to us on the HSP podcast have been HSPs themselves, which I'm very excited about. The HSP podcast has grown so much. We just started it pretty recently. It's already in 125 countries and over 100,000 listeners all over the world, which really excites me because we're in this together as sensitive people and we're helping to empower each other and to lift each other up in the world. And so Larissa was able to teach us some techniques that you can use, like some acupressure techniques, for example, to use to calm the system. And everybody that was listening was saying that it was so calming. What I really want to share with you, though, is I want you to know that there are things that you can do that make it a lot easier being a sensitive person in the world, because the world is not set up for sensitive people. 80% don't have this trait. Probably 95 to 99% don't have the high level of sensitivity that a lot of us do in the sensitive empowerment community. We really feel normalized and validated and understood, being able to be together. That's one of the things that I like to tell you guys is please spend time with other sensitive people. It really normalizes your experience. Hey, hello, Adil, Lori, Juditha, Jen and Robin, Sabrina, Athena, Shay, Stephanie, Katie, myself. I love seeing you guys here. Hello. If you guys have questions about the trait of sensitivity, you can ask me. I am a psychotherapist that specializes in this trait, and I'm the founder of Sensitive Empowerment. Hopefully you guys know about all the resources and tools that I teach. I have tons of free resources on my website. that I really recommend that you visit. There's a letter that I want you to give your doctors and so basically anybody that works with you medically as well as mental health. I want you to give this letter to them because it's going to teach them about the trait of high sensitivity. It's really important that they know about the trait to avoid misdiagnosis, to understand what your experience is in the world, to be able to support you better. I actually have a guide on my website that's about calming the brain too. And that's something that you can do as a breath technique that's quite fast. Yeah, Adil says, I was a pretty sensitive person until I got brain fog due to anxiety. That's the thing. Anxiety can cause so many problems for us. And I actually want, if any mental health professionals or doctors are listening right now, I really believe that anybody that's showing up with anxiety should be screened for the trait of high sensitivity. This is a trait also called sensory processing sensitivity. And it is really important to know about this trait for yourself. And if you are working with sensitive people, we think at least half of clients in therapy have this trait. This is huge, at least half. So you have to know about this trait. It's essential. I have tons of information on my website. Please explore the HSP podcast, the HSP blog. And you can get these guides that I'm talking about for free. There's a free sensitivity quiz on there, all of it. And you can go to juliebielen.com or sensitiveconnection.com. So one of the things that I found really so helpful in my own experience, because I was somebody, before I knew about the trait, I was somebody that experienced extreme anxiety and extreme depression. We see this a lot in sensitive people. If we have not been raised with the right kinds of support in our childhood, then we are more likely to experience anxiety and depression, which is incredibly difficult to live life that way. And it is part of why I'm so passionate about helping sensitive people now, is because when I learned how to train my brain and how to balance my sensitive nervous system, life really changed, because you get more focused, you get more creative, you're more patient, you're not reactionary, you're able to do the pause, reflect, and respond that I talk about in my brain training program, which is huge. It improves your relationships, all of it. Somebody say, how can I say if my child is HSP? Do you have children's? So some people are using my sensitivity quiz and taking it for their children. Elaine Aaron also has one specifically for sensitive children. And what's really amazing, and I love parents, thank you so much for asking about this, because if you are giving your child what they need now as sensitive kids, I also have a blog post on the HSP blog that you can look up in the search bar and find parenting. HSPs or sensitive parenting. And it's got a ton of posts and actually podcast episodes and things that I've done on it too, to teach you about how do I recognize it in an infant even? How do I recognize it in a child? What are some tips and tools that I can do to support my child? All of that stuff is in there. Really supportive. If you can't find it, just contact me through my website and I'll give you a link to it. But one of the things that are and you can listen to some of those too and see some of the posts, because I actually give things to look for so that you can start to see and what you can do to support your sensitive child. And the research is showing that if we are supporting our sensitive children, they actually excel more in life, even more than children without this trait. And that is showing you this trait is not a disorder. Because when we're given the right kinds of support, we really do bloom brilliantly. I like to equate it to, thinking about a high-performing car, for example, that might need a little bit of extra tune-ups, a little bit of more maintenance at times to take care of this really luxury car. But when it's taken care of well, it really performs outstandingly. And just like an orchid flower, you guys may have heard me talk about this before, an orchid flower blooms brilliantly given the right kinds of conditions And you can bloom brilliantly in the world too. I see it over and over again in my sensitive empowerment community. We're really lifting each other up in the world and talking about this trait. We need to understand this trait, understand that we have brain differences and that our nervous system is different and has a different set of needs. We need to spend time with other sensitive people to validate our experience. And we need to know about these tools that are available that work really well. Even just the breath technique that I teach, where you inhale for the count of 4, hold it for 2, and exhale for up to 6 to 8. So when you're exhaling with the long, slow exhale, if you forget the numbers, that's okay. Just remember that the exhale needs to be long and slow. And I actually talk about this. You can download a free guide about this on my website and sign up for my newsletter, because I put all this stuff into my newsletter every week that share the techniques that I'm teaching, that the different resources, when there's new podcast episodes, new blog posts, all of that and everything is dedicated to you as a sensitive person, because it's my mission that we're going to create a paradigm shift with sensitivity to help all of us. And I see this as a grassroots movement, that all of us need to have this paradigm shift, that we need to change the way that we view sensitivity. It is not a weakness. It is a strength, and it has so many superpowers. You can read micro expressions and body language that the majority miss. You pick up on shifts in energy. You have extra data and extra information. You might have hundreds of cups going into your nervous system of data, where somebody without this trait might just have a few cups. And that is the reason we need the alone time, and we need processing time, and we need to spend time in nature and do meditation and mindfulness practices. All of these things are set up to help us process that data. And if we are not processing that data, because, a lot of people we didn't learn how to do that. So it's really my mission to teach you how to do that. And I teach you guys that in my courses that are quite popular for sensitive people. One of the things that is really important to know is that if you are not processing those hundreds of cups of data that go into your nervous system, then your nervous system cannot process toxins. And that's going to be a problem, especially when we're in the middle of a pandemic. We have to be able to process toxins, or our health is going to be impacted. And we might have sleep issues, which really causes more health problems and even mental health problems as well. So learning how to balance your sensitive nervous system and give yourself the right kinds of care to do that is life-changing. I mean, it is incredible. Because without that, you might feel, if your nervous system container is too full every single day and you're bombarded with data and information and you're not having time to process it, you're not having alone time, you're not spending time in nature, things like that, you might notice that you're impatient, that you lose your temper, that you get sick a lot, you can't sleep well. How many of you have experienced that? I want to hear from you guys. It's nice to see you joining. Hi, Sandra, Shannon, Alexandra, Corrado, Rachel. Nice to see you guys here. You love my shirt. Thank you. It is part of my mission to change this paradigm shift of understanding that, HSPs are intuitive, empathetic, compassionate. This is who you are as a sensitive person. And I know with certainty, because I'm in my sensitive empowerment community every day, and I watch them raise up their confidence, their belief in themselves, their ability to manage and balance a sensitive nervous system, and to see them excelling and gaining this confidence and clarity and self-love and self-compassion is huge. I hope you guys have seen my self-compassion technique. I teach that on the blog as well. All this stuff is free on my website, so I hope you're just exploring all of it, because as you can see, I'm very passionate about this, because I know that if I help you in the world, you're out there helping others. And I really want to see sensitive people step into leadership roles and policy making and law changing and start creating, equality and using our hearts to make choices in the world, because you're very valuable. And if it's up to me, I'm going to create a world where even you would want to even put this on a resume. That I even have an upcoming, I'm being interviewed tomorrow, in fact, about how to bring awareness into companies, for example, to understand that these are incredibly valuable employees with a lot of gifts and superpowers that you would want for your company. It would be very valuable, and I would certainly want an HSP therapist, doctor, healer, teacher. All of it. Innovator, you're the most creative. But if our nervous system is really overloaded, one of the first things to go is creativity and productivity. So, and motivation, things like that go, but it's also one of the first things to come back when you're actually taking care of yourself in the right ways. So I want you guys to know about all these tips and tools. We have done over 90 events in my sensitive empowerment community that are all available in the HSP library. We have a community library and they're all available in there. Some of those events go into the HSP podcast because we do some live events in the community. If you're watching, are you guys listening to the HSP podcast? We do that live in my sensitive empowerment community too, so you can be a part of that if you want. Hopefully you guys know about that. You can join the community through my website, check out the podcast, the blog, all of it, all the resources that I'm sharing with you that I want you to share with your medical and mental health practitioners. I also have an HSP practitioners directory on my site. If you're looking for an HSP therapist or healer or coach, I have a directory for you that you can find one. So many good things to share with you. And hopefully you're checking them all out. You guys can visit my website at juliebjelland.com or sensitiveconnection.com. And if you, good, you're listening often. Yay, Alexandra, I'm happy to hear that. It's such a fun podcast, and I love hearing from you guys. How can we watch the HSP podcast as video? Join the community, my sensitive empowerment community. We do the events by video, and then they become part of the HSP community library. And sometimes the audio then is uploaded into the podcast available for everybody. But the video events, like we just did one just now, where we got to learn techniques, calming techniques, and we just did that, and that's recorded and put into our HSP library. You're 36 and found out that you're an HSP only 3 years ago. And I'm trying to explain it to my mom since then. And this summer, she was finally ready to hear my explanation. Oh, that's good. It's so important for us to share. I have a video about high sensitivity on my website as well. She thought your sensitivity was her fault. We receive all these messages. I'm sorry to hear that, because it's giving us a message that something's wrong with sensitivity. And we absolutely need to change that. This trait evolved for a reason. It evolved for the survival strategy of the population, because you have all these extra gifts that are needed in the world. And so that's part of the paradigm shift, is that we want to embrace and honor and cherish sensitivity, because it is just filled with gifts. You're created for a reason, for the survival of the population, because you have all this extra information. Oh, good. Michelle saying, thank you. Yes, I always listen to your podcast and I really get so much from them. I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you to all of you who have shared how the podcast is supporting you and helping you. And thanks for leaving reviews. Thank you for sharing the podcast, because we are helping other HSPs when we do that. Every time you share something with another HSP, you are helping them. And so I appreciate that you've been doing that. And if you want to make comments on the podcast episodes, or leave me a voicemail that you want me to, maybe you have a question that you'd like to be answered on the HSP podcast, or you want to comment and talk with each other about certain podcast episodes, you can go to hsppodcast.com and do that and see all the episodes there. I've got it set up so that there's different categories. There's one category that you can click on the tab that says HSP meditations, and it'll show you all the meditations we've done on the podcast. If you are a fan of me and Willow doing our conversations that we do, in fact, we're doing this Thursday, Willow and I are going to talk about confidence, how to grow it, where does it come from, how do we get it? If you want to join us live, come in the sensitive empowerment community. We're doing that this Thursday. And And it's a subscription-based community so that we keep it safe and spam-free and no advertising. I'm there every single day, and it helps support all the tech stuff that goes with having a community and making it safe. And if you do the monthly plan, you can cancel anytime if it's not for you. But I think you'll love it. It's pretty amazing and magical. A lot of HSPs talk about that it's magical to be together and to have these conversations and to really lift each other up in the world, because you're so needed and so valuable. So hopefully you'll explore all those resources. If you guys have questions for me, you can contact me through my website. I hope you join the newsletter so you get all the information just delivered to you. Every time I create something new, I put it into the newsletter. And I want to hear from you. I love hearing what you need, what you might be challenged with, what kind of resources you need, because most likely I've already created it and happy to share it with you if you can't find it. But there is a search button on my website too to find stuff. So hopefully you guys check all that out, and we will, hopefully I get to see some of you Thursday live in our sensitive empowerment community. Take good care of yourselves, everybody. Please value who you are, understand your value, and learn about this trait. It will be life-changing. Learn about this trait. Know that there are tools to support you, to lower the challenges so you can access all the gifts that come with it. You can get rid of anxiety quite easily as a sensitive person. For example, if you know what you're doing, my brain training course is really good for that, teaching you the tools to do that quickly. Most HSPs talk about feeling improvement within the first week or two. I mean, this is huge stuff, guys. And I know because I've been doing this for years and working with and researching HSPs all over the world. And we need to take care of ourselves so that we can really access these gifts that we have, share them with the world, and, be our best self in the world. The world needs that from you. And if you are taking care of yourself in the right ways, you will be surprised at the energy that you have and the creativity and productivity, all of it. Okay, it was fun spending some time with you all. Contact me, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Check out the website, juliebjelland.com, sensitiveconnection.com, and you can see all the resources that I'm talking about. Bye, everybody. Hopefully see you in the sensitive empowerment community.